Hey, hello, and welcome to this first in the series of six messages, six little lessons on the book Set Sail. Set Sail. Set Sail is all about putting Christ first and sailing to your islands of paradise, custom islands of paradise for you. We'll learn more about that as we go. Maybe you've had a chance to look over the book. We're just going to go through it kind of chapter by chapter. And this is the first chapter, the introduction. So it starts off with talking about a young man who could be you or me, and or a woman, and is looking out over the ocean. And he sees, have you ever done that? Looked out over the ocean and see how beautiful it is? Sometimes it's just so inspiring. And he's thinking about God at that point and thanking him for the beautiful view and creating the sky, the water, and the beach. And you notice three ships below. The first one was small, kind of small and weathered with scratches in the hull. It appeared to have been through some tough battles. Even though its sails were tattered, they were filled with the wind, and the boy was impressed with how quickly it moved past. It seemed to be sailing with a purpose, possibly on a trip to a paradise island. Doesn't that sound good? Be out sailing to a paradise island. It could be fun, and it could also be an adventure. An adventure means that there's some pluses and minuses along the way, and that's where we can learn to lean on Christ as we sail through life on God's ocean, right? Right. The second ship, he saw another ship. It was directly below. It was halfway on the beach and halfway in the water. It was shipwrecked. He wondered how it became that way and what it would take to get it sailing, get it back in the water and sailing again. Then there was a large, beautiful ship about halfway to the horizon. He wished he could see the sails, but they were neatly furled. That means they were just kind of tied up to the mast and not catching the wind. Its movement was slow and appeared to be just bobbing and drifting on the wind and the waves. What a deal, a beautiful ship just out there floating around, just floating wherever the wind and the waves take it. The young man recognized the connection between these ships and his life. Sometimes he was sailing along right on course, navigating with a clear purpose and destination in mind. Other times he felt shipwrecked with real or imagined limitations, holding him back from becoming and doing all that he was meant to do and become. Aren't we that way sometimes? We can really feel limited in our environment and trapped in the way things are, rather than continuing to learn and grow and look for solutions. Then there were times he felt he was drifting at the mercy of the wind and the waves. All of his energy was spent on staying afloat and avoiding disaster rather than setting sail for islands of adventure and paradise. So, you're just out there drifting, and you might be scrubbing this ship, just making sure everything's clean and everything's nice, and never go into the navigation, the captain's area there to chart a course and actually sail somewhere. You just have to keep these sails all neat and tidy and tied up, and you're just bobbing in the wind rather than going somewhere. I think the young man sensed that God brought him here to see the view and make the connection with his life. He decided right then and there that he wanted to be more like the ship that was sailing with a purpose. He thanked God for the opportunity to make choices and go places. He committed to staying close to Christ, trusting him to make him wise, and so he could make good choices and get back on course whenever he found himself shipwrecked or drifting. So here are a couple questions if you want to pause after this to discuss or think about. Which of the three ships have you experienced? Have you ever felt like you're shipwrecked or drifting, or you're sailing right on course? And then after that, what ship best represents your situation right now? How are you feeling right now? And you could take a second to think about those two questions. Regardless of which ship you identify with right now, the main thing is to kind of start right where you are and intentionally put Christ first in each area of your life. That's our main thing that we're supposed to do. Only then can we begin to make good decisions and set sail with courage and confidence. Let's look up Matthew 6:33. Matthew 6:33. This is Jesus talking. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. That's what we're supposed to seek first. And all these things will be given to you as well. So we're not supposed to worry about all kinds of other things in life. He doesn't want us to be afraid or worry. That shouldn't be our main focus, but to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And all these things will be given to you as well. So that's just so big, so big. That's what we're working on here, on how to do that. How do we seek first his kingdom and his righteousness more than anything else? That's what we're doing in this four-step framework. It's so easy to lose our focus with all the duties, difficulties, and distractions in our lives. We go through times that are just plain busy, or we find ourselves in a crisis without the energy or interest in thanking and trusting God, or even thinking about him. I totally understand that, and I've been that way myself, and still am at times. Things come up, and I get worried, I get concerned, and then I think, wait a minute, let's talk to God, let's talk to Christ about it, and we're going to look at that here in the next chapter. When we're out of our comfort zone, we're in a crisis, we're fearful. What do we do to live fearlessly? So here's another question you could reflect on for a little bit. What are the duties, difficulties, or distractions that take your focus away from Christ? You could think about that for just a second. My guess is that you felt it's fairly easy to write down duties, difficulties, or distractions that take your focus away from Christ. It's just about everything. Things that we get wrapped up in, and we need ways to bring us back to focus on Christ. As for me, I remember turning my life over to Christ when I was just 4 years old. Now I've spent over 50 years learning what it means to follow him and put him first. I'm still learning new things and growing every day. So I think it is something that we can continue to grow in, and we've got a framework, a method here that you may find helpful. I think if you give it a chance, I think you will find it helpful. I have had trouble with drifting, and how to put Christ first in my life has been fuzzy until I started becoming more intentional and deliberate about it. And that's what we're going to talk about. So what helped me clear up the fuzziness and what we're going to discuss here, first we're going to have a fearless living guide, talk about dealing with fear. But after that, there's 4 steps. 4 steps. First is to define the most important areas of our lives as islands on a cruise and commit them to Christ. So, hey, we're just going to identify what those are and commit them to Christ. It sounds simple, but it's a big deal. Describe our vision for each island based on where God is leading. So where's God leading you in each island? What would make it paradise for you? Next, third step is to determine how close we are to realizing our vision by taking a virtual cruise and quickly evaluating each island. So we look at each one and see how close we are to realizing our the paradise, what God has in store for us, what what he would want for us, which is to follow our desires within his commands and his kingdom. And finally, the fourth step is to do and become more of what God wants us to do and become by focusing on him along the way. So it's the action plan, the doing. What does God want you to do to help you come from here, point A to point B, from here to here. And this is closer to his, the ultimate paradise that he wants for you, the ultimate fulfillment and peace and the most amazing life you can imagine. And beyond what you can imagine. God came to earth to provide the way for true success for us in this life and the life beyond. So my prayer for you is that God will give you a truly amazing and purposeful life filled with God's love and grace as you set sail with him every day. Let's see, John 10:10. John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. A full life. I am the good shepherd. He continues. It's just amazing. He wants us to have life and have it to the full. He wants the best life for us that's possible. He wants to give us paradise, a kingdom kind of paradise. And that's what we're going to work on. So enough for this one. And we'll look forward to the next one where we'll talk about fearless living. I have kind of an illustration I want to show you, and we'll talk about fearless living and why that's an important first step in living life to the full. See you next time.